Hi, I have a question for you. Please raise your hand if you have ever been in a musical ensemble of any form, orchestra, choir. Well, wow. Okay, well, this would be great. I'd like to make sure that everybody here has the experience of being in a musical ensemble. So we're going to perform. You're going to become the TEDxAmericanRiviera Symphony Orchestra. It's a piece called Rainstorm, inspired by the weather. Just do as I do. Good, keep it going, keep going. Okay, good. Now rub your hands together. And snap your fingers. Snap. Isn't the power of the ensemble amazing? Small actions done by individuals together, ensemble, you can do great things. I think this applies, obviously, in music ensembles, but I think it applies in daily work as well. And that's one of my greatest joys of leadership. My personal life journey on leadership, which I hope I'm still in the early phases of, because I have a lot to learn, I still suck at it. It started in an unusual way. Yeah, I was one of those Asian kids playing recitals in second grade in front of the whole school assembly. My mom, who may be watching remotely, proudly describes herself as the prototype for the Tiger Mother. And she sat next to me every day while I practiced. So I kind of didn't like the piano that much. But there were two things that rescued me from this bad relationship with the piano that really ignited my passion for music by making it social. The first was my piano teacher and her husband, Rosalind Koff and Robert Koff, who, by the way, was one of the founders of the Juilliard String Quartet. They introduced me to chamber music, playing with other people, and that brought joy. And then I made the great discovery that the pretty girls were in the chorus in the musicals and not in my nerdy classes, and so I enthusiastically became the accompanist. And since I was a guy, I got recruited to sing, and pretty soon I was conducting. And so my first leadership opportunities was as a conductor of choirs, a really classical choir, a jazz vocal group, and my college men's a cappella singing group, the Harvard Gin and Tonics. And we went to Bermuda every spring break, and I had a fantastic time in college, as you can imagine. And then, while I was in business school, I discovered this whole thing called leadership, and I became a passionate student of leadership. And throughout my career, I've enjoyed making connections between the two. And today I'd like to share with you some of those insights. By the way, one of the reasons why I didn't like the piano is because I would have these memory blocks every once in a while. Okay, now I remember what I was going to say. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's been written trying to draw analogies between orchestra conductors and leaders in business. And they talk about things like he's able to draw the best out of people with his baton. But all this writing is based on what you see in a performance and not based on what happens long before that first note. And I think that as a result of that, you all miss the opportunity to really understand these deeper analogies. This is what I think are most people's impression of the conductor as leader. The words that come to mind are commanding and directing and controlling. You know, my musician friends who've experienced this kind of conducting, they have this old saying, what do dictators want to be when they grow up? Conductors. So while you might think that a conductor's job as a leader, by the way, I appreciate all the energy in the room. While you might think that the job of a conductor as a leader is to direct every note and to control the tempo and to control the volume, I think that a conductor's real job is to create an interpretation of the music, a story, something that will create emotional impact on the audience, and then lead the orchestra on a journey towards executing that vision. Well, what do we all as leaders in the real world do? Well, I think that before we talk about what leaders in the real world do, I think that the easiest way to explain what a conductor's job is to look at the difference between these two pictures. This is what each individual musician sees. In this case, it's the cellist part. They see only their notes, their part. Whereas the conductor sees this. It's all of the instruments, all of their notes, all on one page. It's all about context. So the instruments each see just their piece of the puzzle, and it's the conductor who sees the big picture. Now, yeah, it's his job to make sure that everybody's playing together, but I think that's just mechanics. There's a famous British conductor, Sir Thomas Beecham, who once quipped, "There's only 2 rules of orchestra playing. Start together and finish together. And the public doesn't give a damn about what happens in between." Now, he was just kidding, because that really is just mechanics. So I think, as I said, the conductor's job is to create this interpretation, right, and to lead them on that journey. And so now, what do we do as leaders in the real world? We set a vision. We lay out a roadmap for how the team's going to get there. We work with the teams to align resources and tasks. We create metrics so that everybody can tell how they're doing. And then, when we achieve those lofty goals together, the leader stands on stage and takes all the credit. My favorite band, the San Francisco Symphony, and their music director, Michael Tilson Thomas, have produced a fantastic series for PBS called Keeping Score. And in the very first episode, which actually came out a couple years ago, they give a glimpse behind the scenes of what it takes to prepare a war horse, the Tchaikovsky's Fourth Symphony. And so with their blessings, I'd like to give you play a couple of clips, and let's watch how Michael Tilson Thomas accomplishes these leadership tasks.
I've chosen his Fourth Symphony for the final program of our season. As a conductor, it's my job to interpret Tchaikovsky's codebook. It's something I have to do all by myself. I rediscover the music by singing it or playing it. I'm looking for the little things, inflections or changes of mood.
I think that leaders create vision by imagining and hearing the future in their heads, trying out different alternatives, and then inspiring their teams to go well beyond the mundane.
This waltz tune is so famous, and I think one of the reasons it grabs us is that we sense underlying it an even more primal musical move, the moan or the sigh. Ah, 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 in various ways. Why me? Now it's your turn, horns. Lovely. Why am I so sad? Why am I so alone? That's the message that's stretched over all of these waltz bars. And that's when I work with the orchestra, what I have to find.
So once you have your vision, you've got to communicate it to your team. And I think that using stories and images and analogies helps them really grasp that vision all that more well.
Alexander Baranchik is our concertmaster and leader of the violin section. Sasha is a vital link in communicating my conception of every piece we play to the rest of the orchestra. So we usually meet long before the rehearsal process begins. What I've been thinking about this is that, that underlying the whole beginning is this sort of almost, it's just like a kind of moan. But, you can come look over my shoulder.
Yeah,
too.
sure.
Why not? You can see all through all my marks. I've had this score since I've been about 15, so it has all these ridiculous marks in it.
Before the rehearsal, we usually get together and look at the score, look at my part. He makes a lot of suggestions every time about the bowings, about the dynamics, phrasing, and then we just find each other.
By the way, they find each other, not fight each other. Michael Tilson Thomas has the power to tell every player exactly how he wants them to play every note, but I think that by telling a vision, it's just much more powerful. And by working with the leaders in the orchestra, the concertmaster in this case, he's enlisting him to help him sell that vision to the whole team. Selling your vision is really important. My favorite TV series is The West Wing. It's a fantastic it's a great morality play on leadership. And in one scene, the president's henchman, Josh, finds out from his counterpart from the other side that the president's bill is going to fail because of Democratic defections from his own side. And so the Republican operative says, "What do you call a leader that nobody follows. Just a guy taking a walk. All right, so we've looked now at what it takes to prepare, but what about the actual concert, the actual performance? The conductor doesn't make any sound. It's all coming from the musician. So what value add does the conductor provide in the concert? What's all that arm waving about? Well, first of all, I think the conductor is providing real-time feedback to the orchestra on how well their sound matches the ideal that's in his head. During the performance, he's encouraging, he's reminding, he's coaxing, and sometimes gently correcting. In business geeky terms, he's a real-life living performance dashboard for the orchestra. Now, in your jobs, do your teams know how they're doing as they're doing it, or only at the end of the quarter? The other thing that he's doing is leading in advance or in anticipation. TEDxAmericanRiviera has an awesome TED Talk, which some of you may have seen. And in it, he shows how the conductor can stop the entire orchestra with one finger. What I'd like to do is to get you to experience what I call the power of the cue. So I now hereby name you the TEDxAmericanRiviera Tabernacle Choir. Now you need to have good posture to sing. You're going to sing one note with me. Just sing this note, ba. Okay, you're finally there. Great. Now I'm going to just count you in with 3 beats. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's pretty good. Somebody over here is very flat. We're going to do it again, and this time I will actually cue you. Okay? I'm going to leave off that 3rd beat. Ready? 1, 2, ba. Okay, that's even better. Now this time, I want you to take a short breath when I give you that cue just when you sing. Ready? 1, 2, ba. Do you feel that anticipation? Do you feel in that gap? And do you hear your neighbors breathing? Does it create more connectedness? Cues are really powerful. There's this amazing eye contact connection between the conductor and the musician when he gives the cue. So they're energizing. And cues are public. The conductor guides the audience's attention at the person who's about to play. And when cues are given to an entire group or a section, and they breathe together in anticipation, cues can create cohesion. So think about using the power of the cue in your daily work, like when a team's about to start on a new project, or when the rhythm of work moves focus from one group to another. A signal, a cue by the leader, not only prepares that next group, but it gets everybody else's attention on the group that now needs support. I'm going to now take you to the complete other end of the spectrum from a professional symphony orchestra, and let's look at an amateur piano trio in rehearsal with Jillian Rogel, the director of chamber music at New England Conservatory.
That's still too short? My 8s are too short? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
No.
You talking to me? You know, the first time I saw this clip, my hands got sweaty. I was remembering teams that I had been on or that I had led who management thought had been given clear goals and objectives, but the team didn't know how they fit into the bigger picture. They didn't even know what the big picture was. And so whenever there was any kind of debate, they would just dissolve into disagreement about details of tactics and execution. Now, as a leader, it's really tempting to help a struggling team like this by giving them more direction, like do that this way by Tuesday. But I think coaching like that doesn't help the team gel, and it makes the team dependent on the coach to resolve all the differences. Sound familiar? Let's watch how Jillian, instead of saying, play this note this long, helps unblock the group by coaching to the concept.
Okay, but I think of this as you're starting the piece, and the piano says, I'll play it by myself. What she do? I'm going to play myself? Oh, no, please. So the two of you are commenting on this. And later, in measure 13, you finally all get together and sort of start the piece as one would imagine it would start. So let's see if that will help you, and let's see what happens to the music if you do that.
It's amazing progress with just 30 seconds of coaching. My takeaway, coach to the concept, not the technique. Now, over time, chamber music groups become much more cohesive. They start to look at each other. They start to listen to each other. They start to breathe together. Let's watch the Jupiter String Quartet with 2 guests perform a Brahms sextet. Okay, it's really beautiful, but I can tell that you're more listening than watching. So let's watch now without the sound and in slow motion. Look at how synchronized their motions are. Look at all the eye contact from the violist. I love that this cellist is moving and breathing together with them before he plays. But my favorite part is here. Watch the violin and the cello. Look, breathe, and play together. Isn't that beautiful? You can almost see the music going from one instrument to another just through their eyes. And there's no one leader, and yet they're breathing together. Wouldn't it be awesome if teams at work could achieve this level of flow by watching each other, listening to each other, and breathing together? But today there's an even more difficult challenge, which is the distributor or the virtual team. My passion at work, on top of music and leadership, is a new movement called enterprise social software, where what we do is take patterns of sharing from things that we're all used to, like Facebook and Twitter, and build products and tools for work to help distributed teams work together. Not just by sharing information, but by increasing transparency. People know what their colleagues are doing because their activities are shared as they're working. Networks of knowledge get built, not through politics and organization charts, but through value. And communications and conversations cross silos. So I think this helps teams watch each other and breathe together. And it helps you as leaders leverage the power of the cue and give feedback during the performance. Now, I've talked a lot about connections between music and leadership, but there's one big difference for non-musical leadership, and that's this. You get to write your own music. You're not hamstrung by the intentions of some guy in a wig who's been dead for 200 years. You can write big pieces on a blank score. You can imagine huge outcomes for your team, and you can inspire and lead them to achieve great things. So as you go back to your day jobs after this amazing event, try to think about how to apply these leadership lessons that we've gleaned from musical ensembles. Creating a vision, selling, not just telling your team, giving performance feedback as it's happening, the power of the cue, coaching to the concept, not the technique, and help your teams breathe together. And at the end, make sure that you thank and acknowledge your teams before you take your bow. Now get out there and lead. Thank you. Thank you.